Good morning. My name is Trish Lofton, and I am the Administrative Assistant for the Curris Center Administration Office, and I'm also Staff Congress President. I would like to welcome you today to our first of two Staff Regent Candidate Forums. This is a special election to fill the remainder of the term left by Dr. Jessica Evans, and this term will run through December I assume maybe the 15th through June the 30th. And today you're going to meet four of our candidates and have an opportunity to ask questions. And I'm going to, excuse me, I'm going to introduce them in alphabetical order. So if you'll just raise your hand. We have Dedrick Brooks, Director of Institutional Research in the Institutional Effectiveness Office. Leanna Lynn McClure, Coordinator of First Year Academic Advising in the Center for Student Engagement and Success. Audrey Neal, Director of Talent Search for TRIO. And Dr. J. David Wilson, Director of Housing. And so what we'll do is each of you will have 3 minutes to give kind of an introduction. And so we'll start. So we'll just start with you, Leanna.
Okay, thank you. My name is Leanna McClure, and I am the Coordinator for First Year Academic Advising in the Center for Student Engagement and Success, which is part of Student Affairs. And I'm very happy to be here today to seek election as your Staff Regent. I've been associated with the university since 2007. I started my undergraduate studies at that time and have since completed my undergraduate degree as well as my master's degree here. So I've been employed for 11 years full-time since 2012 here at Murray State. I've worked for both student affairs and academic affairs, and I have made it my mission while I'm here at the university to support the missions of both of those academic affairs and student affairs units. I've been a part of many organizations on campus and heavily involved on this campus since I started here in 2007. I've also held about every type of employment here. I was a student worker, I was a graduate assistant, a teaching assistant, I've been an adjunct, and I've been in the Department of Organizational Communication, from which I graduated. And then I've worked full-time for the Registrar's Office and the Office of Veterans Affairs. So now I'm in Student Engagement and Success, and it's because of the encouragement that I've been given through some of the most hardworking and humble people on this campus that I'm here today applying to be your Staff Regent. So I would be honored to represent you, and I would be happy to serve as your representative for the Board of Regents. Thank you, Oracle.
Thanks, Oracle. Hello, my name is Dedrick Brooks, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak today. I currently am the Director of Institutional Research for Murray State University. Most of you probably know me for completing some of your data requests here on campus. Our department is pretty much known for working with multiple departments on campus in order to complete government and federal reporting. I've been a part of the Murray State family for 4 years, 9 months, and 5 days to be exact, and I am also a Murray State alumnus. I am a member of Staff Congress, where I actually serve on the staff survey, credentials, election, diversity, and the naming chair committee. In 2022, I was nominated and selected as to be a part of CPE's Academic Leadership Development Institute program. And from that program, I got the opportunity to learn the ins and outs of the day-to-day operation of public institutions, CPE future projects, and the performance metrics, which is used to determine Kentucky's institution and performing well based on the assigned CPE metrics. Additionally, I've been a part of the Leadership Murray class of 23-24, which I've gotten the opportunity to learn what different businesses and services around here that make Murray State the finest place we know. I'm passionate about being a voice and a vote for my staff colleagues. I believe that a good leader should listen with an open mind, present facts that are given, all the facts that are given, and not be afraid to admit they don't know everything. Based on staff surveys, my colleagues want someone who is willing to work with our administration to find additional resources for wage increases, flexible work, summer schedules, and transparency across the board. As a data analyst, I have the opportunity to provide staff with descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive analytics to make logical decisions that benefit all staff. The staff regent position is not a position that is utilized for packing promises and to include on our resume, but it is a position that is utilized for the staff, the voice of the staff members. And I am here to work for you, and thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Audrey Neal. I am the director of TRIO Talent Search, which is a federal grant program. We actually have 2 grants that I operate. I supervise a staff of 5, and that program serves pre-college students across the western end of the state. Works to get low-income, first-generation students through high school successfully and into college. I've been involved and working here at Murray State in this position for the past 6 years. I was also employed at Murray State previously with the Gear Up grant from 2007 to 2012. So I had employment over in the College of Education in that position. I was a former English teacher, middle school and high school English teacher, got my undergrad degree here at Murray State, 2 master's degrees here as well. So I've been involved in part of the Murray State campus since 1999. My husband also works here. Both of our daughters, one of them has graduated from here, one's currently attending school. So once we moved here to Murray, that kind of became our circle. Murray State University sort of became our home. And with this second round of employment that I've had here, one of my goals, because the programs I work with focus so much on the pre-college level, we're not as involved in a lot of things that go on campus as other departments may be. So it's always been my goal to find ways to get more involved, to be able to contribute to our campus community. My involvement with Staff Congress over the past couple of years has been one way that I've been able to do that. I've served on a variety of committees, including chairing the Staff Survey Committee, which, like Dedrick and others, and David will probably mention too, it's a great way to see the feedback that we get from our staff on campus and to understand some of the issues that they're facing, both good and bad, because I think it is a way that we can also acknowledge some of the great things that are going on, but also look at the places where things need to continue to improve and get better. And overall, that's really my goal as staff regent, if I were elected to this position, is to work to listen to you as a staff, to build those bridges to better communication, to be a resource. That's really kind of the way that I see that position is as a resource for staff to turn to say, okay, I'd like to talk about this. I'm having these kinds of problems. These issues are going on. I've heard about this. Can we explore something like this? So again, looking at both the positives and the negatives as a way to strengthen what's available and what's here for our staff. And then, you build a better staff, you build a better campus community overall. We all know, and I've seen, kind of arguments and things play out where, faculty are the most important things, students are the most important thing. They're all together. So that's, I'd appreciate your vote for that.
Okay, last but not least, I am David Wilson, Director of Housing. I have been here since 1996, so a long time. Have been in housing that whole time. I do have 3 children that have graduated from here. Most recently, my son graduated. Both sons and my stepdaughter graduated from here, so this has been home for 27 years. Because Alex is 27, that makes sense. So a part of what, for me, my involvement on campus has been, I've been involved in a lot of different areas, At times, I do serve as an advisor to Sigma Phi Epsilon fraternity. I've been working with them for 16 years. I try to get involved in other things. I got into Staff Congress because I wanted to try to help, to be a part, to help support our staff. I feel like that the staff regent position gives you an opportunity to help continue to be a voice for staff. I really, excuse me, I really feel like that staff, students, and faculty, somebody tells me that as a staff regent you have to be for the university. Well, I really feel like the staff, the students, and the faculty are the university. So I have to be for those, and so especially for the staff to bring issues up and to support. While my time at Staff Congress, I was president for 2 years. I was the Zoom president over the time we were closed and everything, so every meeting. But I was able to start our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. I was able to be a part of getting the supervisors training started that was going on. I was not able to do it by myself, but I was able to get that going and have Staff Congress be a part of that. I also have been on the survey committee, and I love that committee because we do get to see, and we need you staff, please fill that out and be honest with us, but learn how to use punctuation and spacing and paragraphs that would help me read because I get lost sometimes. But I will say to you what I really feel like is I feel like there's a few things that I think are important for the staff regent to do. One of those is try to continue to work on a structured, raised kind of platform for us, for our staff. Another one of those is try to help people. We have a lot of complaints about the timeline to hire, so how do we work on that to process that? I feel like there's a lot of statements about how to do initial benefits that we can get that don't cost money because money is tight. And then there's been a lot of statements about people feeling underappreciated, and I really feel like we need to look at that to try to help with that. And finally, I really want to get involved and try to get extended campuses more involved with us. I appreciate your vote, and thank you for listening.
And that wraps us up on that part of it, Tricia. And on this next part, you'll have 2 minutes to answer these questions. And Trish.
Okay.
Well, in just a moment. Okay.
Okay, questions. What do you feel is the most important issue facing staff at Murray State?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are many issues facing staff that are important, no doubt. The most important, though, to me would be that there is a lack of transparency, and there is a perception that oftentimes administration begins an initiative but doesn't fully support that. Or to put it another way, put our money where our mouth is. So I think the most important issue facing staff is that they have representation, and clear representation, honest representation. If you haven't looked at the answers that we typed out, I would highly encourage you to do so, because I feel like we elaborated, all of us probably elaborated to some of that degree for that question. But one of the goals I have is that we have increased morale as staff, that we have more of a joint discussion with faculty and staff. There are often silos at the university that may or may not actually exist that we need to break down, or we need to squash perceptions. And so that's one of the most important things to me, is to make sure that we're breaking down barriers and silos. We're working together as a university to be the racer family that we tout ourselves as. There are so many great initiatives and so many great staff on this campus, from facilities to housing to dining to student engagement and success, and so I want to make sure everyone feels represented and that we're all working toward the collective university mission.
Better.
So one of the things that I think that is important, just listening to other staff members, is transparency, towards, from our administration. And that's one thing that some individuals that I've spoken with have actually said, that it might be a certain department or something that actually gets closed down and they have no knowledge of it. So what can we actually do to have that communication from staff to admin, that we're all on the same page? Another thing that comes to mind is pretty much like issues are like flexible work in the sense. I know that the second reading of that is coming pretty soon, and I know that some people want something like a joint, like a summer schedule where they can actually maybe work 4 days and be off on a Friday or something of that nature. Another thing that actually comes to mind is wages always come up in like different surveys and things of that nature. So those are issues that are still a problem. And so outsourcing is another thing that is an issue. Like we get to a point where outsourcing might be like our go-to thing to do in order to actually fix our budget. But if we can actually find different ways besides outsourcing, what are those things that we can actually do? So.
I think obviously, you know, if you look at the past couple of years of staff surveys and you ask staff what the biggest issue facing them, they're going to say it's pay. It's equitable pay. It's that comes up. I think we had over 75% of the staff respondents last year respond with that as being their number one issue. But I think that's connected into a bigger issue, and that's just the overall work-life balance. Not only do staff feel that they're underpaid, but they also feel like they're overworked in those positions. David talked about, you know, the time it takes to get some positions filled, and it does. And so in the meantime, you know, the university, our administration has talked about, you know, we've not had to lay folks off, we've not had to lose positions that way, but we have lost positions in areas for other reasons. People retire, a line doesn't get filled after that, or it takes a while, and so a number of folks have to take on the work then that's created when that position is not filled. And so I know that there's a lot of concern across the board, and we hear it regularly about folks feeling like, you know, they continue to get asked to do more and more, and just that work-life balance isn't there. And so I think one of the goals as staff regent of mine would be, number one, you know, pushing, and I know that the budget is not in a great place. I mean, everybody's aware of that, and so where do you find that money during difficult economic times? I know that the university's gotten some increases in terms of insurance costs and things along those lines, where they're having to find a lot of extra money right now. But it's also being creative and being willing to look at other options. And so what other kinds of additional benefits can you offer that might offset that might kind of sweeten the deal a little bit? If we can't get raises, you know, what else can we do? And so I think looking for those creative ways to solve those problems is one of the things I'll do.
In the effort to be a broken record up here, salaries, of course, is one of the main ones, but I think our challenge is, I think it takes about $800,000 to get a 1% raise across the board. So where do we come up with that money? And if we can't come up with that money, can we then look at what can we do to try to offset that? What benefits can we put into play that we can help with? You know, it's wonderful with the work, with the flexible work, but like for a department like mine, if students are on campus, we have to be here 7 days a week. We do not have the ability to just go home. If you work in facilities management, plumber can't do their work from home. So, well, I understand the need. I think that it's not going to be there for everyone. So how do we do other things to support people that can't take advantage of that? I think that, and part of that comes back is with the hiring process, is that if we cannot hire and it's taking time and then we're giving other people their jobs that are not getting paid for it, what we tend to prove to people is we can do the job with less people. We have 600 less staff than we had 10 years ago on campus working. So that means we're doing the same amount of work with less people. And we're doing it because we love helping the students. But I think that's the issue. And the other part for me that I think is not the staff won't say as much, but I think is really underlying everything, is we have a lot of people that say they're unhappy, that say they're not appreciated, that say they don't feel important in their job. And so how do we get to a point to help people know that? How do we get to a point that we can get supervisors to know how to show appreciation and do things more? Because pay's great, but it will never be enough for everyone. So what can we do? And I feel like working with Staff Congress and working with the Board of Regents to try to look at ways we can do that through focus groups and pull people together. Thank you.
Okay. And David, that kind of leads right into the next question I have is, now that you all kind of touched on it, what are some ways how would you address that staff retention and recruitment? Because we all know that it's sometimes tough to recruit new staff members.
Again, I think it's like reviewing the benefits and see what we can actually like bring to the table, whether it's utilizing the wellness center for free, whether it's most likely adding additional days to it. I know that sometimes, again, like David mentioned, that it's difficult to give raises and things of that nature, so we might not be able to increase pay, but what can we do benefit-wise to actually make this work? Also, maybe more staff appreciation days that we can actually do on campus. I don't know if it would be like a company picnic or maybe giving a Starbucks gift card to the Curris Center or something of that nature. But the more I feel like that we can interact with each other, I think that gives us an opportunity to make staff want to be here, make it a warm place. And so pay is always one of those things that I believe that is going to be an issue. So it's like, how can we as staff and admin make it to a point where people are comfortable and love being here? So.
I'm good, all right. I think that there are a number of things that you could do. Obviously, the first thing is to re-examine the current policy and process that we have in terms of hiring, looking at streamlining that process, fixing places where it's maybe not as effective as it needs to be. In terms of retention, it becomes an issue of, like Dedrick said, I think we're all going to say the same things. How do we improve employee morale? How do we make folks feel like this is the place that they want to be? I think there are a number of folks across campus that if you ask them, they say, yes, we work at Murray State because it feels like home. We like that feeling. But there are just as many people, I think, that wouldn't echo those comments, that would say, no, I'm here because I need a job and this one is the one that works out for me. There are other extenuating circumstances. And so while I don't think you can change kind of somebody's how they feel about that necessarily, I think there are lots of things that you can do to just make folks feel more appreciated, to make them feel like they are more involved. I think one of the things for me, feeling a bigger part of campus was getting more involved. And so I think giving people the opportunity without creating additional work for them, but giving them the opportunity in ways to get involved, in ways to contribute, in ways that utilize their talents, their skills. But I'm not talking about in a way that creates additional work for them, right? You know, we know everybody already feels like they're doing so much. But, and I think also just finding more ways to recognize the achievements that our staff have outside of what they're doing right here on campus. We have so many staff members who are engaged in professional organizations within their areas, and they're a state officer or a regional officer or a national officer. And so finding ways to continue to recognize and expand that recognition would be a good thing to do.
So I learned a long time ago, I'm old school. I remember my father when I was working at his hardware store, and one day I said, am I doing a good job? He said, did you get paid this week? I said, yes. He goes, okay, that's it. And so that was always my evaluation of appreciation. You get paid. One of my staff members many years ago started training me to be more thank you, to do more things to try to help people. I really think that we have got to first get our staff to feel comfortable telling us their issues. They'll do it on a survey because it's anonymous, but that doesn't help really get to what the issue is. Why do you feel underappreciated? Is it the way your boss treats you? Is it the way the staff, do you feel you've got too much work? I think I would love to have focus groups to try to pull staff together, but we've got to create an environment where people do not feel that it's going to be held against them. There is a belief on campus that people will retaliate if they come forward. There is a belief, and it may not be a lot, but there's people that feel that way. We can't have that. If we can't be open and honest, we can't ever address this issue. And then once we can be open and honest, I feel like we should work with Human Resources to develop a training to give supervisors the tools to appreciate and to think and to do things. A lot of stuff is just a thank you note. A lot of stuff, I know people on campus that work in departments that may not like their job, but they love the people. And so how do we get that on our campus? I think that's a way to help with that retention and recruitment. If people come here and say, boy, they really get along. I've had the same staff members in my office for clerical support for over 20 years. And they've retired, and I've got others, and they just love the environment, and I really work at that. So to help to make people feel appreciated, it takes work, and I think that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
All right. So I will probably echo some of these sentiments, but I have to say outright that I'm privileged to work for an office that supports employees, and I have the ability to speak my mind without retaliation, and I want that for everyone. I think some of it comes down to let's have some supervisor level training so that we can develop offices that have that comfortable working relationship where we feel like sincere and open communication and dialogue can take place. You know, supporting one another, actually meaning that you support one another, and being involved with one another on a personal level to some degree is critical to retaining good employees. And some things we cannot address, but I'm a proponent for strengths-based leadership. So let's leverage the strengths of the employees that we have, but let's also make good use of the systems that we have in place at the university. I think that's something that needs to be revisited. Many of us are overworked, as mentioned. We take on more because we do have a sincere desire to serve students and to represent one another well. But we're only one person, and we only have 24 hours in a day to make that impact. So let's look at our strengths, let's leverage those, let's revisit some of the university policies, procedures, software to make better use of what we've already paid for, to make better use of our resources so that maybe we have some other resources come available for cost of living or staff appreciation opportunities. But that's important for retaining, recruiting, and just the university culture collectively.
Next question.
Okay. What would you say are your top 2 priorities if elected?
Audrey.
I think my main goal is just to be the resource that the staff needs. So whether that's to be an open ear, whether it's to be a source of information, and obviously it's to be a voice, but that voice comes with listening and keeping those open lines of communication. You know, I know that Dr. Evans set a really high bar as far as communication is concerned. You know, she kept everyone up to date with what was going on with the Board of Regents, with her updates, and I feel that I am an organized person, I'm communicative, and so I think that I can keep that level of communication going. But again, it's that focus on well-being and looking for ways to make everyone's working situation better, whether it's through new ideas or it's revisiting ideas that we already have in place. I would say in terms of issues specifically, the focus continues to be on equitable pay and looking at making sure that folks are compensated the way that they should be, following up with the compensation study that's going on and other issues, and then also just looking for ways to recognize and celebrate our staff.
David.
You know, I just feel like always raises will be that one of the top ones because people want raises, but I think to take a detour with that is to see not just raises, but how can we compensate staff that do extra work because they're filling in for someone who's no longer there. If we've lost a staff member and then we have to have somebody fill in, how do we compensate them for that additional work? Personally, I was interim director and associate director for 5 years. So I did 2 jobs for 5 years, and I did not get the pay that would have been for either one of those. Really, I did get some extra, but you know, I know what it's like to have to do those jobs, so I think having compensation when you're having to do extra like that for someone else is really important. Now, if it's for a week you're filling in or for a couple weeks, but if it's for a while, I really think that. And then I go back to, I will always click on this. I just feel like we have our culture is changing, and we have more and more people that are upset and not happy, and more people in the survey say they've thought about leaving the university. And I think, you know, as staff regent, I would really want to try to dive into that and try to get information. I know that's being redundant to it, but I really think if we can help people feel better about their job and feel better, we may not can do the pay, but if we can make you feel better to come to work every day and enjoy the people you work with and feel like you're appreciated. And sometimes that's training supervisors how to say thank you, you know, how to take some brownies or cookies in and say, hey, y'all did a great job this week, to just recognize. I think we can help people and getting them to feel more. In that sense, once people feel better, then they may be more comfortable to come forward with their issues for us to help them.
Oh, top priorities, I'm sorry. So top priorities for me, if I were elected as staff regent, would be to examine what we're currently doing that works well and identify what we're doing that doesn't work well so that we can make adjustments as necessary. Oftentimes I find that there are so many of us doing similar things on campus that we're really taking on more as staff than we need to. We're reinventing the wheel when if we had just collaborated to begin with, we could be more efficient. One of my goals in anything that I do is to increase efficiencies, and that's not just for the benefit of our resources, but for the benefit of one another. We don't have to have those barriers that we sometimes put up, and I think if we're going to serve students and serve the university well, we have to be willing to work together. I want to be able to be the voice for those that don't want to stand up for themselves. I do not have a problem being the only one of a certain opinion in a room. Those that work with me know that. But it's very important to make sure we have open two-way communication, that we can express ideas, that we can express concerns. So collaboration, efficiency, I'll put that together as one priority, and then the second priority is that comfortability to communicate with one another. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Many of you have heard that, I'm sure. We can't continue pouring into the university and making this university a better place if we're not getting some of that energy back to ourselves and taking care of ourselves.
Better.
And I think at this point I'm going to be echoing because listening is pretty much always my #1 goal because I feel like sometimes we have the tendency to talk more than we actually listen, and so getting a better understanding of like what staff members are actually going through. Like for example, with the staff surveys, we actually seen some staff members mention bullying, and it's like, when you hear of someone actually bullying other staff members at work, I mean, this should be a safe place where everyone has the opportunity to, you know, work free, go home, be happy, and things of that nature. Also, at the same time, I would hold more listening sessions because I feel that the more and more you can actually get an idea of what staff members are needing, the better you can actually serve those staff members. I know at times that, you know, we feel that some people, which I don't have this issue, my supervisor is fantastic, but some people feel that their supervisors are lacking a bit of skills. So the supervisor training was phenomenal. I got the opportunity to be a part of that, and so I would encourage other supervisors to actually take that supervisor training. And yeah, but it's also working together with faculty and staff, just together. Like, if we can actually get together, we can continue to make Murray State a better place.
Okay, that's the questions I have. Do we have any others from the floor?
No pressure.
Okay, so if we want to take a moment and do a wrap-up of some closing comments, or we'll have much time to have?
Let's see, on that one, I think we're going to give you guys 3 minutes. Yes. And let me switch you back over to the 3-minute mark, and we will do the countdown. Let's see, the next person up will be Audrey, so Audrey, we will, or actually, David gets to go first.
Ooh, I get to say it before y'all. I'm so excited.
We just all say ditto, David.
I think, I understand some of the concerns staff had. I've been here for a while. I understand the overworked part. Reason this knee is messed up is I was in Christmas Day checking buildings for leaks, because that's my job, and I fell in the parking lot, and then I got to meet the police and the ambulance, so that was very fun. But I just feel like there's certain things that we have got to try to look at moving forward to try to help our staff, and that's what this job is for. Again, I said earlier, I just said that I feel like that the staff, the students, and the faculty are Murray State, and so that's who we should care about, and especially for this job is the staff. And through our work, let's just face it, if there were no staff here, a lot of stuff would not get done on this campus. And I feel like we need to value and support and celebrate what everyone does, whether that's somebody who is sitting at a desk answering the phone, to somebody who is checking the buildings for leaks. That we should celebrate that. I think that I really feel like that for me to continue to look at some type of wage increase kind of scale that we can try to use, but knowing that's difficult, we've really got to look at benefits to see what we can do that can support and help, what we can do to help those individuals. If we're losing positions, can we work with Human Resources and Staff of Congress to try to see how can we streamline that position, that process better? Is there a way for us doing that to try to get individuals in the job? And if we're not going to have that job, then go ahead and tell us that so we can restructure and move on and do the best that we can. I think that the last thing I'll say again, I really feel like one thing, I feel like we've got to really work to keep the extended campuses a part of what we do, because they are out there, and a lot of times everything we do is for the campus environment. And even though there might not be hundreds of them, there are people there that work that are Murray State employees that we need to reach out to. And we visited a couple of them over the break, went to Hancock Biological one day. We went to Hopkinsville. So I really feel like we've got to do that. And the last thing, again, I'll hit on is that we have got to work to create an environment where people feel appreciated, where people feel that their job's important. There's one thing I'll tell you, there's no unimportant job. There's people that feel unimportant in that job. And if they feel that way, we've got to help them. I think we increase that, we help with that, we train staff, supervisors to provide appropriate recognition. I think we can move forward. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, first of all, for allowing me this opportunity to be the individual that could potentially advocate for you. I do understand it's a complex situation working at a university. There are so many moving targets. Often we're having to look at performance funding and enrollment on top of insurance and benefits, and then doing what we can in the positions that we're in to work with one another. But I would be happy to represent you and advocate for those concerns, to build a relationship with you. I've built many relationships on this campus as I've worked in different positions. I've carried those with me, and I feel like I've built more bridges certainly than I've burned, and I would continue to do so. I would be happy to get out amongst you, to come to your area. I love campus tours. I was a student ambassador back in the day, so that's something I always like to do, is visit other departments to make connections. But it's very important to me that we have representation with the administration that is willing to stand up and do the right thing. Oftentimes we can be subject to groupthink and feel like we cannot have a voice, and that's something that I want to eliminate. And it's very important to me that we make sure, once again, it all comes back to that service mindset I have of caring for one another and making sure that we are refilling our own cup as well as we try to serve one another and our students. I didn't touch upon it, but I was a member of Staff Congress several years ago and served on the University Judicial Board as a staff representative. But in those roles, I got to experience some of what these current Staff Congress members have alluded to with the staff survey and the committees. I was over the Staff Recognition Committee for a year as well, so I do understand the need for validation and the importance of that. But once again, it comes down to, I would be happy and honored to represent you. I would be willing to advocate for you, and I appreciate your consideration. And remember to vote next week.
Again, thank you guys for your time, and any one of us up here, like, we're not doing this for our resume. We're doing this for the staff. And so the thing that I pretty much want to make sure is that when we vote on what the staff actually want, not on our own personal beliefs or needs. Whatever the staff actually say, we vote with the staff and not against the staff like some people have done in the past. So we keep that vote for the staff, but also at the same time making sure that we, as staff members and the administration, we are being transparent when it comes to making decisions for the university, and that could benefit and affect staff members. I know at times that we all won't get what we want at the same time, but again, there should be a way that we could find some type of common ground and find things that we can all agree upon. And so if I get the opportunity to run as your staff regent, I will be the voice for the staff members, and pretty much I will put my own personal opinions to the side, and thank you guys for giving me the opportunity to be here today.
And I'll wrap up, and as I jokingly said earlier, you could say ditto to what everybody says here. You know, I think every single person sitting at this table is here, you know, for the same reasons that I'm here, because we want to represent the staff in a way that makes things better for them and makes things better for the university as a whole. I know for me personally, the work that I'm doing with Staff Congress will continue, and I will continue to be involved in any way that I can to make change on this campus, whether I'm elected as your staff regent or not. But I hope that I can continue to take on that work as your staff regent. I hope to continue to be able to work with, I think, the strides that Staff Congress is making. They've been fantastic. I know there are other groups and committees on campus that are doing the same things, and so to come in alongside those groups and continue that work. And I think for me, you know, Dedrick talked about it, several of you have talked about it up here, but that willingness to stand up and be the voice of the staff, to be open and listening to, and be the person that staff can come to when they have questions, when they have concerns, issues, whatever it is, ideas, but also to work to make sure that anytime anything is coming before the board, anything, you know, anytime an idea is being floated across campus, to really sit down with a critical eye and say, okay, how is this going to impact staff? or if something is currently in place, how can we make this better? There's always room for improvement. I think some of the work, when I came in and took over my job as trio director for the talent search programs, they had been in a lot of disarray for quite some time. And so one of the first things I had to do was really to say, okay, what do we need to do? How do we do the foundational stuff really well? And then we build on that. And so it was a lot of reevaluating processes and policies and making them more efficient. And so I think that that's a skill that I've really developed over the past 6 years, and it's a skill that I would like to put to use for you. For me, the main thing is being able to continue to serve. I want to serve the Murray State staff in the best way that I can. And so I want to keep those lines of communication open and work to make things better. Thank you.
All right, thank you, candidates. We appreciate you taking the time today. The next forum is going to be held tomorrow, December the 6th at 1:30 here in this room, in the Barkley room. And we hope that between now and then, we can get all the kinks worked out to where we can stream it online. And you can go to staffvote.mymurraystate.com to be able to find that link. You can also, the voting will take place next week. You can go to the portal on MyGate, and starting to what time, Orville? 12:01 a.m. on Tuesday, December the 12th, and voting takes place through 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday, December the 13th. Again, on behalf of Staff Congress and all of the staff, thank you for being here today, and for those of you that showed up today, we appreciate it. Thank you.